Welcome back. Well, when I touch it now, it doesn't get my hands real muddy. Okay? It's got all these little hard spots and not so hard spots. So the next thing to do is to slam wedge it. So I'm going to show you two different ways to slam wedge. Slam wedge.
You and me, babe. You and me, babe. It's just nothing else like you.
We're ready to go. All right. So when you cut it apart, it looks like this. Okay. And you can see the lighter colors are the more of the sludge and slush, and when I pull it apart like this, it's got all sorts of air in it. When I squash it, yeah, okay, here we go. When I squash it, it folds in the areas where the this was slip and this was clay. The longer you let this set, the easier it is going to be or the fewer times you're going to have to slam wedge. So slam wedging is next. You want to get clay that you can handle, clay that you can control. You don't want to have so much clay that you're going to throw your back out while you're slam wedging. And what you do is a guitar string. So I just wired up a guitar string with this spring, a hook, what's that called? Turnbuckle. This is a turnbuckle. This right. It's a turnbuckle. And another spring. And then I do that to the back of Tim's wedging table. This is my wedging table. This is Tim's wedging table. This is how much taller he is than I am. But say goodbye to your back if your wedging table is too tall. Now for slam wedging, it's not that big of a deal. But for wedging, if you can put your body weight, it's a whole lot easier to do that than to do this. So, okay, enough of that, Emily. Stop your yapping. You slam it down. You slam the other piece down on top of it. You turn it over, you slam it down again. If you pull your elbows like that, it will stay in a square shape. Okay? So, down, down, down. And as it flattens out, you will see fewer and fewer of this blue, which is a mold that grows in the slip, which is actually a plasticizer for your clay, which means it's a whole lot easier to work with. And see how this has already, see, now it's lines instead of clumps. Okay? And you want to slam wedge it like that until you get no more lines, until it's all one color and no more lines. If you have a red clay, you won't be able to see the mold. You'll just be able to smell it. Kind of smells like a toot. Okay. So, the other way to slam wedge, there are actually two ways of slam wedging. It's not as necessary to have this. In my opinion, it's a little bit more difficult, but do what works for you. You're going to throw out a slab. Okay? Pick from the furthest side, right? And you're going to flip it over. Pull your elbows back like that. Right? When you pull your elbows back, that means this hits first, and as it comes down, it stretches. And as it stretches, all the air is coming out the top. And you see that same stretch that I showed you all ago over here with the lines, right? All of those little round pieces are turning into flat, long pieces, right? Okay, when you have, like, if I was doing this over here, I could go a lot longer with this. If I was doing it on my set, whatever, wherever you have the most space, that's where you need to do this. But now I have just a regular wire tool. Pick it up and cut off a piece, and you're going to layer it up. I don't do this very often, but you want pieces that obviously are about the same size, right? And you want to slap all those pieces together, and then, so this is the equivalent. How many did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. So I did 5 cuts. So if I had done 5 cuts here, right? This is the equivalent. And same thing. Throw out a slab. Since we are short on space, I like the other method better, personally. The other thing I like better about the other method is that I feel like me personally, I am less likely to get extra air bubbles because I'm not very good at throwing a slab, if you hadn't already noticed. But if that's something you do all the time, then, you know, it shouldn't be an issue. On this method, with the guitar string on the side of the thing, you know, I would do that at least 10 times, and then I stop and check it. And then I do it another 10 times, and then I stop and check it, see where our progress is. Again, like I said earlier, you do it with as much clay as you can handle, as many times as you can handle doing it. As many times as it needs, so that you don't have any more. See how I push it together and I don't have any lumps? And I can pull it apart and I don't have any lumps. Right? Right? I do have some lumps coming in here. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Now, a plasticizer, because I told you about the mold, right? Plasticizer is something, see how it's cracking like that? It helps to keep those cracks out of your clay. Okay, so now let's talk about the importance of that throwing slip. That throwing slip throws the mold, that is the plasticizer, right? So let's say I got a handle here. I'm just going to throw me out a little slab handle. This isn't mixed good by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it will serve our purposes. So if this was a handle that I was actually going to use, I would compress it, right? Compress it. Yeah. Compress it, compress it. Okay. And then I would smooth it out, right? And then I would start my roll, right? Because I roll all my handles, right? Stop saying right. And it is the plasticizer that on these rolls gives you that nice roll without the cracking on the edges, right? See how I can roll it up but it doesn't crack? If your clay is cracking, you're not getting enough slip in your reclaim. That's not the only reason. And that's just what I found for me. But that could be one of the reasons, is that you don't have enough slip in your reclaim. So, if it's not slam wedged, same thing. You know, if this one hasn't been as slam wedged as well as the other one has yet, because I stopped it in order to show you both ways. Fantastic. But it got a few cracks in it, you know. But once that plasticizer gets all through the reclaim, it really is nice. There are some companies that age. I don't know if all companies do it or not, but I do know some companies age their clay. And the whole idea behind the aging of the clay is to get that natural plasticizer. I have also seen people roll like this. So who knows how many layers that is? Nobody knows. And then start throwing out their slab. So they, will roll it. But to me, I feel like that just gives me a whole bunch of layers here, but out toward the sides, not so many layers. So, it's kind of 6 of one dozen, 6 of one, half dozen the other. And again, this here is the reason why I go ahead with the slicing method because that's an error. So you got to get that air out one way or the other. But look at that spiral. You can see the layers coming together, and making a nice uniform clay. One thing you can't do, if you roll it, you don't want to, I don't guess it doesn't matter one way or the other, but air. Okay, so that pretty much covers it. When this has no streaks of the plasticizer, the blue, I feel like this is easier to see too. That's another reason I use this. When it's all a uniform thickness and you're not getting any air, then you're done with the slam wedge, and you can wedge it up and throw with it. At that point, it's just managing the wetness that you like to throw with. You like wet clay, you like dry clay. If you like it drier than what it is, wedge it up on the plaster. If you like it wetter than what it is, then take some wet clay and slam wedge it in while you're doing this process. So if I had like clay out in my slash bucket or something like that, if this got too dry, which happens a lot in Texas, then I could just pile up a bunch of slosh on top of it and maybe do a few monkey's head wedges, slam it, and we'd be golden. Because slam wedging will even the moisture content of all your clay. So if you've got too much or too little water, if you just take the opposite and slam wedge it in while you're doing this process, then yeah, you can get the exact right consistency for all your clay all the time. It's fantastic. It's really a fantastic process. So, and then the last thing that I do, just in case I have more wet clay in here, is I take all of the clay, I slam wedge this piece together with that piece, this piece together with that piece, and I've got a consistent bag of clay. I've still got reclaim and slosh bucket. So, I'm going to get that up on the plaster, and then I'm going to wedge all my reclaim together. And I may add a little bit of this because this has really been stiff and hard to work with. So yeah, that is probably way more information than you ever wanted to know about reclaiming clay. And I hope that it helped somebody out there. And if it didn't, I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble, and I appreciate you sticking around. So I have some plates to trim. I have some fairy houses to glaze. All sorts of things to do. And it's turning out to be a marvelous day. Thanks for coming.